Okay, today we're going to study a new sutta. This is on page 52, 52. No? There are lots of other things which are either already studied or they are a bit technical, so we won't go to them at this point. We'll look at the teachings which we can understand and practice at this time. Okay. Now today's sutta is entitled Pancha Vera Bhaya Sutta 1. That means you got Sutta 2 also, same name. Ne? Pancha means 5, Vera means anger, Bhaya means fear. It can also mean anger, it can also mean danger, like in Malay Bahaya, ne? Same word. Sutta means thread, okay? Thread of teachings, the thread of teachings that goes back to the Buddha's time. So what we study here are based on the Buddha's own teachings. They are not something taught by other people, but it goes back to the Buddha himself. That's why this is very important to us. And very often these teachings are very simple. In fact, you look at today's teaching, you find they're quite simple. And yet they are practical. In other words, if you follow them, you'll be happy. And then towards the end, you find something very deep. The words are easy, but the teachings are very deep. They are called the 12 links. The 12 links explain what our whole life is actually. So Buddhism is about our whole life. So each time we study different aspects of it. So today we're going to study what are the things that cause us fear. What are the things that we do out of anger, and how to overcome this, how to understand our life as it is, in other words, how to be happy. All right? Now, if you wonder what Buddhism is about, we can put them in a simple way. It is to understand how our mind works. Okay, our mind is the key idea. Everything starts with the mind. So to be a Buddhist is, number one, to know your mind. To know the mind. And then to know the mind, that means to see how this mind behaves, how this mind makes us do things. And then number two is to tame the mind. Right? This mind is like 6 animals, One day we'll talk about it. And why 6 animals? Got the 5 physical senses plus the mind. They're like 6 animals. And then, so we want to tame our mind. Meaning what? Not to get angry, not to want this, want that unnecessarily, and not to be confused, not to have wrong views, wrong ideas. That's how to tame the mind, right? To know the mind, to tame the mind, and then the third one is to free the mind. When you free your mind, you feel happy. Free the mind means no worries, no problems. No matter what happens, your mind is peaceful, right? So that's the basic idea of being a Buddhist: to know the mind, tame the mind, free the mind. So today, when we study this kind of sutta, we try to know the mind, to understand our mind. According to Buddhist teachings, there are 5 things we must not do. In fact, we just recited them today. We say Panatipata Viramani. I take the training not to kill, right? Not to steal, not to commit sexual misconduct, not to lie. And then the 5th one is not to cloud up our mind, not to get drugged and drunk, right? These are 5 things, 5 very basic things, which I call them quality control. Quality control. If you keep to these 5 rules, you are living a life of quality and control. You don't get into trouble, in other words. Okay? Alright, let's look at this first part. Now look at page 52, the number 1. Oh wait, before that, look at the title, Panchavera Sutta 1. The name is in Pali. We use Pali because it's like computer language. It's an ancient language, so the words are always the same. This teaching has survived for 2,500 years, more than 2,500 years, same words. During the 2,500 years, these words have gone to Sri Lanka, changed into Sinhalese, went to Myanmar, changed into Burmese, went to Thailand, changed to Thai, went to Laos, Cambodia, and now went to Europe. Now we are studying in English, and then they also got Chinese version. Okay, so this Pali is the original. So every time we are not sure, we go back to the Pali. You know, when Buddhism went to China, they were very difficult to translate. You know, lots of problems. Chinese language and Indian language are very different. Indian language is like English. You know, we say they're agglutinative. That means you stick words together, like A, B, C. You know. But Chinese is different. Chinese, you learn characters one by one. You know, so very different ideas. So imagine those monks bringing all the suttas. They can't speak Chinese. You know, the Chinese Buddhists can't speak the Indian languages. So it took them some time to understand each other. So there are lots of problems in translation. For the first few centuries, lots of wrong translation, right? And then slowly they corrected it. Then the monks went to India to get the suttas and so on. So now if you go to some of these temples where they have a library, you find I think about 100 volumes, very thick books, Tipitaka, Ta Chang Ching. The first two volumes are the most important. The first two volumes preserve the most ancient of the teachings from which all Buddhism arises. Okay, so these are the two volumes that we are studying here. So those two volumes went to China. Then the other teachings went to Sri Lanka, went to Myanmar, to south. So part of the teaching went south, part of the teaching went north. Actually, it's the same teaching. Went south, went north. Okay, so now the scholars are comparing the Pali of South Asia and the Ahanjing of China. So the first two volumes preserve what's called the Ahanjing Agama Sutras. Agama Sutras, right? So they're translated from other languages, but very close. Okay, not identical, but very close. So from there we can know what's missing, what's lost, or what's changed. So it's a very exciting period now when we know better what the suttas are. So now we all want to go back to what did the Buddha teach? What did the Buddha really teach? I mean, a lot of teachers will tell us a lot of things all over. Imagine Buddhism is taught all over Asia. All the great philosophers of different countries in Asia, they all started writing their own books. So many things to learn, you know. One lifetime is not enough. And you learn all this philosophy, you won't get enlightened, you still got problems, you know. So we want to learn the original teaching, very simple, very practical, right? And now the Westerners, Buddhism is very strong in the West. They are more serious with the suttas than we are, you know, because when they study anything, they say, okay, what's the original teaching? What did the Buddha say? Where did he say it? Well, they want to know everything, you know. So, you know, all this translation I'm doing, this kind of book, there are about 60 volumes of this now, 60 or 70 volumes after 17 years. You know. We put them all online on the internet, so the books are being used everywhere. So there are other people in other parts of the world also studying the same text, same sutta we are studying. Very same one, okay? And they keep in touch with me on Facebook, you know, and the internet and so on. So there's this interest in suttas. All right, so you look at the title. If the title is too long, you look at the number. You look at the third line, S12.41 in bold, right? So that's the number of the sutta. S12.41. S means Sangyutta. Sangyutta means the connected teachings. This is the name of the collection. Just remember S12.41 or Panchavera Sutta. Then you can see the translation in the third line. The first discourse on the 5 kinds of hate and fear. All right? The rest are details that tell you where to get the teachings. And the last line, theme, tells you what is it about, the 4 limbs of a stream winner. We'll talk about this a little later. Now the sutta begins, section 1. The Blessed One, that's the Buddha, was staying at Savatthi. Savatthi is a very ancient place in northern India, right? So we're often told where the Buddha lived and taught this sutta, but we're never told when exactly. There's a good reason for that. Because the moment we study this sutta, like now, the Buddha is teaching us. That's why there's no time, because Dharma is timeless. When we study, the Buddha is teaching us. The suttas are arranged in such a way that whenever you study, that means you must be serious. Study the sutta. You don't add on other things and change this, change that. Then, of course, it doesn't work anymore. The suttas are like computer programs. You know, computer program, you change one letter, it won't work properly already. The computer program must be exact, complete. So the suttas are like that. Okay? So when we study this, a bit here, a bit there, slowly we pick up, I mean, because English is not our language, Westerners are very fast. They learn, they read things well, they understand this very fast, and they teach all this in the universities also. So we study what we can. If this sutta is difficult, there are other shorter, simpler ones. There are thousands of suttas. Choose something that you like. You can also look on my Facebook. Like today, I just posted, somebody from India asked me, please translate this. It's called the Mother and Father Sutta. The Buddha says, there are 2 people in the world, you cannot repay them in any way because they've been so kind to you, they raised you, took care of you. That's mother and father. So I put that translation online. So it's so easily available nowadays. In many ways, I'm quite jealous about these people because 50 years ago, I never had all this opportunity to read sutta so easy. They want something, they just email me, can you please translate this, translate that, I had no one to do that for me. I had to look for it myself for 50 years. So here we are, these are the suttas. The Blessed One was staying at Savatthi. Then the householder Anathapindika approached the Blessed One, saluted him and sat down at one side. As he was seated thus at one side, the Blessed One said this to him. Okay, this few lines, 2 lines are very interesting, First, Anathapindika. This is actually a nickname. Anatha means those without refuge. Those who are poor, hungry, okay? Pindika means one who gives alms food. Pindika means balls of rice. Anathapindika, the person who gives alms to the helpless. He's a rich man, but once after he met the Buddha, he used all his wealth to feed the poor, feed the monks. So his name was Sudatta, okay? But then the Buddha gave him this name. So he approached the Buddha. Now he is very caring of the Buddha, He's very thoughtful. He said, I better don't ask the Buddha any question, because if I ask, he's forced to answer. Because Anathapindika is the main supporter of the Buddha. So you imagine, if you ask any question, the Buddha, he feels that the Buddha must answer, is obliged to answer. So he decided that he will never ask the Buddha any questions. So you go there and see the Buddha sit down quietly. And what the Buddha does is to read his mind. The Buddha will read his mind and know what he's thinking, and then the Buddha will teach that. All right. So that's why when you see this, you almost never see Anathapindika asking questions. Very rare. Only maybe 2 or 3 occasions in the whole collection of suttas. So he's very caring. So the Buddha spoke to him. The Blessed One said this to him. House Lord. Okay, section 3. House Lord. So he's a house lord. In other words, he has got a house, he's got land, he's got property. House Lord. When a noble disciple's 5 kinds of hate and fear have been quelled. That means to get rid of 5 kinds of hate and fear. One is endowed with the 4 limbs of stream winning. Limbs means qualities, aspects. Stream winning, we talk about this very often. When you come here, you will get to know about stream winning sooner or later. Stream flows, okay? But here, the one who practices Buddhism is like someone who takes a boat and the boat goes upstream. Because if you follow the stream, then the boat will go into the ocean and then get lost. But this one, the boat has got a powerful motor, you know. You go upstream. And upstream, there is an ancient city there. The ancient city is Nirvana, okay? So, stream winning, that means you go down to this boat, that is on the stream, and you go upwards. That means you practice Buddhism, you follow the stream up, you go to the ancient city where the Buddha is, something like that, yeah? So it's called practicing the Dhamma. There are 4 things here that will help you. We'll find out later what are these 4 things that help us to be a truly good Buddhist. Now, but before that, there are 5 things we must avoid. Because these 5 things we do because of hate. And when we do it, we have fear. Fear is not something good, you know. Right? But remember, fear is all in the mind, you know. So if you understand the mind, then you have no fear. Right? Well, first of all, let us find out what are the things that cause us fear. All right, look at the next page, 3.2. And has clearly seen and thoroughly penetrated with wisdom the noble way. Noble way is the Buddha's teaching. If one wishes, one could by oneself declare, I have destroyed hell, the animal birth, the realm of the departed, ghosts, the plane of misery, the bad destination, the lower realm. I am a stream winner, no longer bound for the lower world, sure of going over to self-awakening. In simple language, it means you are sure not to go down into the suffering world. You will move forward towards complete happiness, called Nirvana. Okay? Now, notice the Buddha said, if you practice this properly, what we're going to study in a while, you will not fall into the 4 lower worlds. Lower world, that means below the human world. Sometimes we call it the subhuman plane. What are the subhuman planes? The most obvious one, of course, are the animals. So you can see why is animal not good to be born as animal? You don't have really any control. Other animals will eat you. Human beings will kill you. And whatever happens, you don't know what to do. You can easily trap. Animals are very predictable. So we can train them, but still, you know, they can never be wise themselves. So you cannot practice Dhamma if you're a cat, you know. I have a cat that sits with me when I meditate, but the cat, short life, died, still cannot, you know, become enlightened, you know. But the Buddhists, they have a very interesting story. You know? They believe that all these cats, all the animals that you care for and love, when they die peacefully, they'll be reborn in the second heaven from our world. First heaven are called the heaven of the 4 great kings. Second heaven is called the heaven of the 33, Lord Sakra, King Kong, you know. So that's where the animals will be reborn. It's not a very high heaven, but it's a happy place. So you take care of your animals, they become devas, they become angels, and they take care of you also. So it is a very beautiful teaching, to love animals. All right, so animal world, not very good place to be reborn. All those people who don't practice Buddhism, whether you are monks or nuns, laymen or laywomen, you don't practice properly, you'll be born as animals. Number 2 are the asuras. Asuras are very violent, exploitative, like demons. They were God once, but they became very fierce. So these are people who bully others, who don't care others. They look at you, they say, how good are you to me? What can you do for me? and they don't care about you. Like a bad boss, just want you to work but don't care about your health and so on. Those are the asuras, very exploitative. All right. And then you have the pretas. The pretas are like addicts. The Chinese like to call them hungry ghosts, but that's a later idea. The pretas are simply these beings. They're still stuck halfway. Because there's so much attachment, so they are not moving on. They are stuck near where they like. All right, so near the things that they like. So they kind of move around, and they're suffering. Only a while ago, somebody from South America, I think it's Chile, asked me, what do we do? Because here we believe there are all these dead people, they come back. I said, well, when they have no body, you see, they are disembodied. So they are suffering, and they have a lot of attachment, so they're not happy. So they try to come back to you because you are their family, but they can't talk because they got no voice, no body like us. So they just go there, appear. You need energy, you see. Even to come here, you need energy, right? So imagine all these beings, they need energy, to appear to you if they want you to see them. So it takes a lot of effort. If they do that, they're going to lose their battery. That's one way of putting it, So they will lose their energy. And they are not wise people like us. I mean, they're just like those people when they were alive, So when they became ghosts, they're basically the same people, same mind. They're ignorant, they're fearful. So they are suffering. Sometimes they need our help. So if you see them, actually they need our help. And they are afraid of us. But we're also afraid of them. So they're afraid of each other. So in the end, you don't help each other. So this student of mine say in South America, all these Catholics, they hate all these ghosts. They say these ghosts are bad, evil, and so on. I say, we Buddhists will say, may all beings be well and happy. So if you think you see your relatives who have passed away, wish them well and happy and say, may you be well and happy, we love you, let go of this world and move on to your rebirth. Then they are reborn and they're happy. A good Buddhist is reborn. No need funeral already. Just reborn, happy somewhere else. Born as a baby somewhere, very happy. Or born as a deva in heaven. So the funeral is meaningless. You just pray for the body, that's all. So in a sense, we don't need all these funerals, But then you got to get rid of the body, right? So you perform all these rituals. Yeah? So we got to make all this meaningful. Right? So the Buddhist funeral should be a meaningful way of sending the person off. We welcome people we love. Then we got to send them off in the same way. Happily. Welcome them happily, send them off happily. Because we're going to meet again in the future. There's lots of rebirth according to Buddhism. No? Alright, so I was talking about the pretas, the so-called ghosts. No? And then you have the hell beings. Hell beings are the lowest, a lot of suffering there. Now, if you carefully study the sutta, the hells are not places. Because long ago, the story is that the hells are deep in underground in India, Now they dig inside underground. There's nothing there, see? Right? So hell is not underground. Hell is not a place. Hell is a state of mind. We all carry the hells with us wherever we go. It's inside us. So if we do a lot of bad deeds, then this hell will appear. Right? It's just like getting sick, isn't it? The germs are inside us. And then you don't take care of yourself properly, then the germs become strong and they hurt you. So hell is like that. So if we do bad things, then this hell will arise in us, in our own mind. We will suffer. So it's not a place you go to. It's your state of mind. Imagine all those in hell, all those beings are suffering. And then the story, these are just stories. Other beings will punish them. But then those beings who punish them, they create bad karma also. They also will suffer, right? So it doesn't make sense, is it? Those are just stories, a lot of stories, in religion. So we must understand, what does it mean? What does it mean? We must ask. So this, the hell is our own mind. Those who do bad things, they have a lot of fear, they're afraid, they suffer. And then those who are violent, they bomb people and kill people, that also is hell. Alright? So this to put very simply. Alright, so these are the lower worlds. You can see it says, I have destroyed hell. So if you live as a good Buddhist, hell won't trouble you. No more hell. Animal birth won't trouble you. The departed, that is the ghosts, pretas, won't trouble you. And then the plane of misery and so on, this is the hell state, won't trouble you. Okay? So, in other words, you'll be reborn as a human being. And not only that, you will be able to learn the Dharma. See, like right now, we have a chance to learn Dharma here. That means you have done good things in the past, So here we are sitting in this comfortable place, studying sutras. Okay? So many other people don't have this chance, right? But here we are doing. Oh, there are other groups doing this also, studying suttas in their own homes elsewhere, right? So it's wonderful. More and more people are doing this. All right. So if you practice this, then you will follow the stream, upstream, to become closer to the city where the Buddha is. That's one way of putting it. So first we look at what are the 5 kinds of hate and fear that have been quelled. Quell, that means overcome, remove. How do we remove hate and fear? 5 ways. Section 5, can you see brackets 1? House Lord, one who harms life, conditioned by harming of life, generate hate and fear in this life, and generates hate and fear in the next life too. And one feels mental pain and unease too. But for one who abstains from harming life, that means from killing, one who doesn't kill, hate and fear are quelled. One does not generate hate and fear in this life, nor in the next life. And one does not feel mental pain and unease. Okay? So this basically is telling us, don't kill. Alright? Now I know you all have a lot of questions. That when we talk about killing, everybody like to ask about mosquitoes and cockroaches. Now those are not important, okay? I'm not saying it's okay to kill them, but if you think of more important things like really loving people, loving human beings, that's more important. Then everything else will fall into place. Don't worry about the small thing, and then the big thing, you don't care. That is very funny, isn't it? You're so careful, you don't even step on an ant, but then you don't take care of your parents, don't take care of your old folks. I mean, that is rather strange, right? So make sure you have things in perspective, as we say. All right? The rule is very simple. Let me ask you a simple question. If someone asks you to kill right now, would you do that? Of course you won't, see? Even if you go to the kitchen, you see a cockroach, you think, what shall I do? Nah? It could be my relative. Huh? So you worry, you see? So that shows you're already concerned. You're very concerned. You know, those serious monks in the forest, they won't touch all these animals, So they are more careful. Because they got rules, they can't kill animals, Right? So all these are balance of nature. All right? So what we are saying here is, if you love nature, nature also will love back, something like that. Now, I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but the problem is there are so many teachings in the world, not just Buddhism, you see. So different people teach different things, so a lot of things are not correct, basically. But if you have a lot of loving kindness, you say, may all beings be well and happy, you find this kind of creatures trouble you less. Okay? And keep the place clean, have a good habit like that. All this counts. No? Alright, the important thing is life is precious. No animal will come to you and let you kill it. Animals trust us. Even cats. I'm talking about our pets, they trust us, right? So we have to take care of them in that sense. Another thing is, in Buddhism we believe that we are reborn, so we can be reborn as animals if we don't meditate, we don't keep the precepts, no? Right? So this is called a precept. This is the first precept. We recited the first precept just now. We said the words Panatipata Veramani, right? Panatipata means killing, stopping the breath. Veramani means abstain. We avoid stopping the breath of beings. We practice not to kill, all right, as far as we can. So if you can do that, then you will get rid of hate and fear in your life. So remember, the Buddha made this rule for us. It's not a commandment. He didn't say, I command you. No, he says, if you read the Pali word carefully, Panatipata Viramani, Sikkhapadam. Sikkhapadam means rule of training. Samadhiyami, that means I take upon myself. I undertake. You yourself choose to practice, to respect life. So the idea is respect life. Why? Very simple. Life is the most precious thing that we have. Okay? If you just think, say, what is the most precious thing that we have in this whole universe? It's our life. Because without life, nothing else is meaningful. Even all the money in the world, the greatest power in the world are meaningless. You don't have life. Life is the most precious thing. That's why it is the first precept. Okay? And we must respect life. As a Buddhist, we respect life, right? Of course, whether you want to be vegetarian or non-vegetarian, it's your choice. If you are vegetarian, it's easier to keep the precepts. If you are not vegetarian, then you're more careful. You don't kill. You get food which is ready. There are lots of food which is ready. You buy like that. So we're not saying that's the best arrangement, but at least you don't directly kill it, right? I believe in the future the scientists will be more clever. Already they're doing now, they know how to make meat. They call it meatless meat, right? Things like that. So all this will change in the future, right? And if you watch those space movies, you find there are what are called food replicators. I've yet to see one, but I think we are approaching that direction. So you just have this food replicator, like a little fridge, and then you just go there. Some of them are so good in this space movie I saw. They are voice activated, So you just say, okay, chasifan, you just say that, or you say chicken rice, you just say like that, and then you appear, Very convenient. Very convenient. And yeah, no need to cook. Because cooking is like Stone Age already. No, we're talking about the future life, like heaven, The scientists already imagining this. If they imagine, that means they're on the way to invent this. So, if you look at our human civilization, we used to eat wild animals alive, and after that now we cook them, and then now we are vegetarians, right? So we are progressing bit by bit, So that's one way we can improve ourselves. Why? Because we respect life, right? All right, so life is precious. Now let's look at the next, number 2, section 6, number 2. Householder, one who takes the not given condition by taking the not given, generates hate and fear in this life and generates hate and fear in the next life too. Okay, look at these 2 lines. Taking the not given, that means stealing. All right, now if you do that, if you steal something, there is always some hate inside you, and after that there is fear. So this life you have hate and fear, next life you also have hate and fear. It will follow you. So it's not very good. That's the meaning, okay? So because it's in our mind, right? Why is stealing wrong? It goes back to the idea of life, okay? So life is precious, so we respect life. But to be alive, you must have food, right? And to get food, you must work to get money to buy food. So slowly human beings, human society, we evolve, we invented work, right? So you work, you get money, and then we invented money, that you buy things, you can support yourself. Now if someone else doesn't work, he steals, what's wrong with stealing? The principle of universality. If everybody stole, nobody will work. Then normal society will be like animals, right? So that's a basic idea why stealing is wrong. Because it is not ours and we don't work for it. I mean, look at one of the richest men in the world today. He's a crook and he's hiding now, living like a cockroach, So all the money he has, he's not happy. He can't move around freely, he got to disguise himself and so on, He's not really happy. You can have a lot of things. What you have is not yours. Only what you are is really you, right? That's why in English we say I have. If I say I have a cup, that means the cup is separate from me. It's not me. I don't own it. I just can use it, that's all. But I don't say I am a cup. That's something else already, right? But I can say I am happy, right? You don't say I have happiness, although you can, but it sounds funny. Because you say I have happiness, the happiness there, I'm here, But you say I am happy, that means me, happiness, same thing. So this is called being and having. Okay? What you have, you can lose. So we must respect what other people have. The food, money, because they work for it. They deserve it. We also work for it. We deserve those things. So we respect each other. So the precept also has idea of respecting each other. Respect life, respect property. Okay? So if you do this, the Buddha said, then you'll be happier. Alright? And then next one, now I'm going to simplify it, because everything the words are exactly the same, only the ideas change. Section 7, brackets 3. Okay, so this is the third precept. House Lord, one who indulges in sexual misconduct, conditioned by the indulging in sexual misconduct, generates hate and fear in this life and generates hate and fear in the next life too. Right, so here sexual misconduct means not respecting people, including your spouse. So here is the right to say no. Okay, when someone says no, we respect. Okay? We respect the person, the body of the person. So sexuality is only one aspect. Kidnapping also included here. Alright? So sexual misconduct means wrong behavior in terms of dealing with another person's body. Another reason why Buddhism takes sexuality seriously is because there are babies. And parents are important. Family. Okay? Family is important. It keeps society in order so that property is handed down properly, peacefully. And when that is done properly, the country also prospers. Right? So the idea of family is very important. The idea of whose children, whose father, the parentage, the connection, the family, the recognition. Then also responsibilities. Parents raise their children well. Parents train their children and so on, right? So this is part of making society happy, productive, okay? So, because if sexuality is freely practiced, then you have a lot of problems. You don't know who's the father, who's the mother, and so on, right? So this is some basic issues, no? Right, so if you can control yourself, then you'll be happy, basically. Now, the Buddha is not saying sex is bad here. In fact, there are stream winners who are people like us with families and children. They are kings and businessmen. Anathapindika was himself a stream winner. So here is our choice, right? You can have families if you want. You get married, take care of your family. Or you can take what's called a celibate life. Celibate means totally no sex. Okay, you can become a monk or a nun. Okay? Or even as a layman, you can still live a celibate life if you like, because monks, they got all these extra rules, right? The idea of celibate here is to cut down dependence on our body. So when you meditate, what you are doing is you are slowly reaching your mind, pure mind. You don't need to depend on your body. So when you reach your pure mind, you feel very happy because the mind doesn't need the body, so the mind doesn't feel the body's pain. So if the monk meditates properly, he'll feel very happy on a mental level. So he's so happy, he doesn't need the pleasure of the body anymore. That's the idea of celibacy. That's the idea of not having sex. That's the idea of why the monks are celibate. They take the path of meditation so that they go to nirvana faster through meditation. Okay, that's the arrangement the Buddha made. All right. Okay, so that's the third precept. Now the fourth precept, that's number 8. Okay. House Lord, one who speaks falsely, conditioned by speaking falsely, generates hate and fear in this life and generates hate and fear in the next life too, right? So this is lying, not telling the truth. Telling the truth is another basic value so that we are happy, we can come together, do things together productively, usefully, happily, all right? The fact that you and I can gather together here is because we follow these 5 precepts. Number 1, we respect life. We don't kill each other. Number 2, we respect each other's property. Number 3, we respect each other's person. Number 4, I'm telling you the truth. That's why I'm teaching you all this. If at the end of this I say I'm telling you all lies, so you said next week I'm not going to come, right? What's the point, isn't it? So the fact that we are telling the truth is very important. If we don't tell the truth, there'll be no science, no learning, no school. So truth is a basic value. So we are dealing with the basic values here. The precepts are based on basic value. The first value, value of life. Number 2, value of happiness. When you have things, you are happy. Okay. Number 3 is the value of freedom, the right to say no. Number 4 is the value of truth. Okay. Now I'm going to shorten this, simplify. Number 5, everything's repeated. All right. Look at section 9. House Lord, one who takes strong drinks, distilled drinks, fermented drink, and that which causes heedlessness, conditioned by all this, they will have hate and fear. And in the future also they have hate and fear. Because when you get drunk, you will break all the other precepts also. You don't know what's going on. This includes taking drugs, by the way. When you lose your senses, so to speak, you lose control of yourself. I've never got drunk in my life, so I don't know what it's like to be drunk. So one day I was having a class. I said, I don't know how these drunk people, I suppose they're drunk, they probably don't know what they're doing. And there was this young man, skinny little young man sitting in front of me, very quiet guy. Suddenly he spoke. He said, no teacher, if you're drunk, you know what you're doing. And only thing you dare to do what you normally won't dare to do. I said, you have been drunk before? He said, yes. So there you are, you see. If you're drunk, your inhibitions will be lowered. You dare to do things which you normally won't do. So that's the danger, see? Right, so these are the 5 precepts. Okay? So the 5th value is the value of your mind. You have a clear mind, you'll be truly happy. And nowadays we talk about mental health, right? So mental health is very important. Okay, now we'll stop here for a while. Usually we take a break, né? All right, then we'll continue the next part after this. All right, page 54, section 10. Right, so we have had just a bit of introduction to the 5 precepts, okay? Panchasila, 5 precepts. Those are the basic training rules to train our body and speech. Quality control for our body and speech. First precept against killing, second against stealing, third is against sexual misconduct. These three is to keep our body healthy and pure. It's got to do with the body. And then the fourth precept is about speech, not to lie. It's about speech, all right? And then the fifth precept is a bit about the mind. But the precept generally is about body and speech. Our body and speech is important so that we're not worried about I have killed, I've stolen, and so on. You don't think about that. Then when you meditate, very easy for you. Right? So that's the second training. First training is called moral training. Moral training has got to do with body and speech. Moral training is the basis, foundation for mental training. Okay, so that's the second part of Buddhist training, right? So the precepts, the first training. Not to kill, not to steal, not to commit sexual misconduct, not to lie, not to take drugs and get drunk. That is the moral training. The 5 no's. No to 5 things. Then the second training is training of the mind. This is where we say yes to the breath. We smile at it. We say yes to loving kindness. We smile at it, right? Training the mind. So first we train our body and speech, second we train the mind. Okay? So but that we'll talk another day. Now, in the second part here, in section 10, it says, what are the 4 limbs of stream winning? What are the 4 limbs of a stream winner? In other words, if you really practice, you are heading towards the path of awakening, you're going to become like the Buddha. What are the 4 qualities you will have? Number 1, wise faith in the Buddha. Here, House Lord, a noble disciple is accomplished with wise faith in the Buddha thus. Not blind faith, wise faith. So too is he, the Blessed One, for he is Arahat, fully self-awakened, accomplished and in wisdom and conduct, wayfarer, knower of worlds, fearless guide of tameable persons, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. These are called the 9 qualities of the Buddha. Again, we recited this at the start of our gathering. Like the second part, we say Iti Piso Bhagawa. Okay, this is in English. Alright? These are called the 9 qualities of the Buddha. Wise faith in the Buddha means we must find out who is the Buddha. So the first thing we know is that the Buddha is a historical person. He was born and he died in India. Okay? The fact that the Buddha is born means that we also can become like him. He became very wise. He became free from suffering. Alright? So we also can be like him. He's not someone from outer space. He's not someone far, far away somewhere in space. Nope. He was a human being. He was a great teacher. And because of that, we also can become like him. But he became even better than the gods because he trained his mind. Alright? You may be wondering what's all this about. If you cannot understand, you should watch more of the space science fictions, like Star Trek and Stargate and Star Wars even. In other words, human beings, there'll come a time where you start meeting all kinds of other beings in outer space, Then we find that we can communicate. Again, the question will be, who is the better person? Can we say Earthlings are better than Martians? We don't know. All that we can say is whoever has a good mind is the better person, whether alien or human. Now, there'll come a time we'll talk like that, So the Buddha, he is the teachers of gods and humans. He teaches not only human beings, he also teaches all those gods and aliens, if you like, So here we're talking about in the future there'll be other beings. We become more aware of them. We communicate with them through space travel and so on. So Buddhism is very futuristic, I don't think any other religion talk about all this future and so on, right? So where the Buddha is concerned, he's a human being. He was born, so we also human being. Then he died. And the fact that he died is very important because the Buddha says everything is impermanent. So the Buddha's death is the final proof to show that his teaching is true. So he did not die in vain. He died to show that his teaching is true. But even though he has died, the wonderful thing is his teaching is still with us. It still works because the teaching is more important than the teacher. Even if the teacher dies, the teaching can make any of us a teacher. That is why in the Buddha's teaching, he always, even the Buddha himself, he places the Dharma, that's the teaching, above himself. Because if you do that, then you can preserve the teaching for a long, long time. Yeah? So, wise faith in the Buddha means you understand this, that the Buddha is a teacher. That you can also become the Buddha if you choose to. You can become like the Buddha if you choose to. You can become happy. Sometimes the Buddha is called the happy one. Yeah? Alright, so that's one meaning. Alright. Then next one. Number 2, wise faith in the Dharma. One is accomplished with wise faith in the Dharma, thus, well taught is the true teaching of the Blessed One. To be self-realized, that means you discover for yourself. Immediate, having nothing to do with time, right? So in other words, once you understand the Dharma, you understand what time is, impermanence. For one to come and see. If you come and examine it carefully by yourself, you all have come, now you all are seeing, you will discover for yourself what is true for yourself. Accessible, that means it brings you closer to inner peace. To be personally known by the wise, you must have some wisdom. If you don't have wisdom, very hard, right? So wisdom means peaceful mind, clear thinking. You read something, you think, right? That's called wisdom. Wisdom doesn't mean very clever, you know. Wisdom means, in a sense, more than clever. For example, clever means I know how to use a computer. That's clever, you know. But then I go and look how to make a bomb. That's not very clever, right? That's not wise. So wisdom means you use the knowledge for greater happiness. You understand the true nature of life. That's called wisdom, right? We understand everything is impermanent. That's knowledge. Now, because everything is impermanent, that means even the people I love are impermanent. They don't last forever. What does that mean? That means I got to take care of them while they are alive. That's wisdom. I must be kind to them while they are alive. After they are dead, there's nothing much I can do, right? Except remember them, all the goodness they have done. But we all do very stupid things. When we don't treat old people well when they're alive, then when they're dead, we perform very expensive, very nice funerals. Who are we doing all this for? We're doing it for ourselves, very selfish. And who are the benefactors? The undertakers, right? You know, when I was in England, we have a Buddhist community there. They were discussing what is the best business they can do, sure profit. They were thinking for about half an hour. Then I told them, I said, there are only 2 businesses you are sure to make profit, I said. Only 2. One is to sell food, the other is undertaking. So they all laugh, you know. Right? So anyway, the point is, treat people well when they are alive. Then when they pass away, they die happily, then they are reborn. Alright? So that's the Buddhist philosophy. No? Of course you can perform rituals if you like, but they must be meaningful. Okay? Alright, so here is the second. Remember we recited Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo. Okay, this is the one in English. Here are 6 virtues of the Buddha. And then the number round brackets 3, wise faith in the Sangha. Okay, this is the third one, which is Supatipanno. These are 9 virtues of the Sangha. One who is accomplished with wise faith in the Sangha thus. of good conduct is the Blessed One's community of holy disciples. So these are the Sangha here. Okay, there are two kinds of Sangha, all right? Number one is called the conventional Sangha. Those are the people who shave their head, wear robes, right? Those are conventional because they take the vows and so on, okay? Now, they are not the ones here, okay? Those are conventional Sangha. In other words, they have taken the vow, they are supposed to be practicing, all right? These are those who already attained at least stream winning. At least they started walking on the path to awakening, path of awakening already. So they can be laymen, laywomen, monks and nuns. Anyone who has behaved properly, who has attained the high state of peace, they are called Sangha. This is a small s, letter S, Sangha. Okay. Now I always use small letter for wherever I can to show that it's the natural, they are good in a natural way. When you put a big S, that means you invented it. You know, you make it so. All right. So it's not the real one, right? So those are the Sangha with titles and wealth and so on. So here, they are of good conduct. That means they keep the precepts, they behave well, all right? Upright conduct is the Blessed One's community of holy disciples. Upright, that means they're always true to their actions. What they say they will do, and they practice meditation, the body, speech and mind are all at peace. Right conduct, you won't be able to find fault with them because they're also kind, they're also very careful in their speech. Proper conduct, they are also respectful to others and we respect them in turn. Samichi Patipanno. These four pairs of person, the 8 individuals, all right, they are called 4 pairs. Why? Because they're 2 by 2. You got stream winners to be, stream winner become. Then the second one is called the once returner to be, once returner become. The third one is non-returner to be, non-returner become, and then arahat to be, arahat become. These are 4 stages of clearing our minds to become like the Buddha, right? So there are 4 pairs, times 2 you get 8 kinds of people. These are you can say these are the 8 kinds of saints. In other words, they're going step by step to become more and more free like the Buddha. So they form the community of disciples. These are the true practicing Buddhists. They are worthy of offerings, right? So when we offer, we give to them, it is wonderful, we are happy because they are good people, so we offer to them, and you feel good about it. They are worthy of hospitality, we open our doors to them because sometimes they come and collect alms. Worthy of gifts. Now this gifts are usually refer to what we offer the teacher, right? So we can give it to them too. Worthy of salutation with the lotus palms, right? So this is where we greet them. Now this lotus palm, it means I bow to you because I know there is the goodness in you. You can become good if you choose to. That's why we bow to each other. It doesn't matter who bowed to whom first. It is not about status. No? Some people have a wrong idea. They think, oh, I'm older than you, you must put your palms to me first. It's not like that. Even an older person, see a young person, they put the palm to the young person because the meaning is, I see in you there is goodness, you can become a better person. That's the meaning when you bow like that. Eh? So we don't shake hands. Well, you can shake hands if you want, but it's not a Buddhist thing to shake hands, right? It's a modern Western way. It's actually a military custom to shake hands. You know those people, they go to war, they use a sword to fight, right? So they shake hands and say, look, no, sword. Let's not fight for a while. But then if they're cunning, their left hand, they got something else. They'll knock the other guy. So shaking hands only one hand, you see. But when you put both palms together, there's no mischief here, right? It's a sign of peace. This is called a lotus palm because it looks like a lotus, right? And there's a very nice story about this, you know, because in Thailand it says a lotus because as you listen to the 2-hour long Dhamma sermon in the in the shrine hall, the lotus wilts because the lotus starts going down after 2 hours. Okay, so it's impermanence. All right, and then at the end of it, it comes back to life. Okay, it's a sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Right, so the lotus also represents the Buddha's teaching. The lotus is a wonderful plant. It grows in the mud. Right, mud means all our ignorance and craving and hatred. But then the lotus grows through the dark waters. And lotus always needs mud and muddy water. Then the stem will go through the water, and then the flower opens up beautifully in the sun. So we are like the lotus. Our roots are in ignorance, but then we have a chance to open up. All right? And then lotus leaf. If you look at the lotus leaf, you can drop water on it, the water will always run off. So you reflect on the lotus leaf, you say, may my mind be like the lotus leaf. Whatever unhappy thoughts, negative thoughts, will just run off like the water, like that. So this is how we reflect on these natural symbols, no? The lotus. All right, so that's a lotus palm, all right? Then, an incomparable field of merit for the world. So when you're kind to this kind of people, then they teach us, they become examples, right? So we have a better world when you have more such good people. That is why we respect the good monks, because they serve as examples, right? But there are also good lay people nowadays, so we respect them too, right? All right, so that's number 3, no? Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Buddha is the teacher, Dhamma is the teaching, the Sangha are those who practice and they have found the path of awakening. The 4th one, this is the last part, no? The noble moral virtue. One is accomplished with moral virtue, dear to the noble ones. Noble ones are the saints, so they love this kind of precepts when we keep them well. Unbroken, untorn. This is like a piece of cloth. You keep your precepts well, so the cloth is beautiful, complete. Unmixed, spotless. Okay? Unmixed, spotless refer to the cow. The cow is pure white, beautiful. It is the colors are not mixed, and there are no spots on it. So they value this kind of cattle, pure white. Liberating, praised by the wise, untarnished. Untarnished means not smirched, not dirty. Giving rise to concentration. Okay, this last part is very important. Giving rise to concentration. Why do we keep our precepts properly? So when we meditate, we don't think about, oh, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, right? So you meditate happily. It helps you to concentrate, to meditate. Of course, some of you may say, I'm not that good. I've broken some precept before I came to this class, Okay, don't think about all those things. You think about this class. You came here 7:30, let's say, all right? From 7:30 to 9:30, you have not broken any precepts. Impossible, right? Okay, so you remember this. That is why we got the review, Remember in the meditation we say we review? That means we remember, say, okay, these 2 hours I kept all the precepts. So I'm happy for that. So this becomes your meditation. So before you meditate, you just remember, say, okay, for these 2 hours, I kept all my precepts. For that, I'm very happy. Then you feel relief, you feel good. Then you can meditate. So you build yourself up. So this is the lotus coming out from the mud. So you keep thinking about the mud, you won't progress. All right? So don't think about the mud. You think about the sunlight. All right? So that's the 2 hours you spend here. It's used for reflection on moral virtue. Sila nusati. Sila nusati. That means you remember you kept the precepts for 2 hours. That's very good. You start from there. Okay, that's the keyhole to open the door to awakening. All right. So there you are. These house lord are the 4 limbs of a stream winner that one possesses. Right. So we have talked about 5 precepts. We talk about this 5 precepts and the 4 qualities of a stream winner. I thought we can finish this, but looks like the next part is very long, very important. The next part is about the 12 links. I'm not going to rush this. We'll talk about this the next time. Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
Question about the ghost. There's a disturbance, right? Then I send meta.
Of course.
And I transfer back.
Dedicate.
Came back again.
You keep on doing it. Then you got to stay a bit more focused, really focus, peacefulness, all right?
But could it be sometimes that they sound and disturbance, right? Is it because they really want the marriage, or they just do it for?
I really don't know, because these are very cultural things. You see, one of the things you must remember, every culture, we have a baggage. We tell stories about the dead, and we believe in those stories. And when a lot of people believe in it, it begins to happen. You see, reality is something we construct, you know. So we always find some way of telling that story. We say, oh, you know, my grandmother, I can still hear her in the room. You see? That's because you always think of, obviously, every sound you relate to her. You see? So that's the first thing you must know. The stories we tell each other. The ghost, you know, so many ghost stories on TV. Everybody likes to watch ghost story. Right. So my point is, it's in the mind, right? It's a challenge you give yourself. You say, okay, this thing, wow, you know, seems to be so strong, all right? So then you go on sending those thoughts. You say it's mind-made, all right? And then you study what's going on around you. You got to examine, and you got to let go of the old views. Otherwise, the old views always come and counter what you are learning now. So this is quite tricky. Ask yourself this question. Why is it that the Malays got Pontianak, but Chinese Westerners don't have? And then very interesting now, Singaporean Malays don't have Pontianak. It's going out of date already. No more nowadays. Because it's a different lifestyle now. The Pontianak idea arose when the fatality of women giving birth was quite high. Loss of blood and so on. So it's a medical condition they can't explain, so they invent stories. Superstitious, right? And people love this kind of alarmist, scary explanation, you know. That it's easy to get support, pity, things like that, right? It's a social thing. But now we know, so all these stories die out naturally. So what I'm saying is, there must be an explanation. Find out explanation if you can. If not, use a loving kindness. Try like speaking to these beings, if you like. I mean, one way is to imagine, okay, if they are real, they need help. Remember I told you earlier, they themselves are ignorant and frightened, and they only know you as a close relative, but they cannot communicate with you. They are in a different world, and they have to use so much energy just to communicate, you know. So in a sense, they can sense you, so you are very calm, and you tell them, okay, I want you to be happy, we love you, we care for you, learn to let go. So you tell them this message. It's just like a relative is leaving you see, just to leave you to go overseas. And then there's this very dramatic, like Chinese movie kind of thing. The one to go says, no, you must go, you don't worry, I always remember you, right? That kind of conversation. So you're telling this being, let go. Be happy, we will remember you, like that. I mean, we are living beings, you know. So if we're all the time troubled by the dead, then we are not living a full life, see? So this is how we deal with the dead, by accepting them, freeing them afterwards. All right, and remember, a lot of stories we tell ourselves, those are just stories. All right? Okay? Anything else? I always like this part, you know, because you can have nice things to eat after this. So, But first, if you have doubts, you must clear the doubts. No? Remember, all these things will build up bit by bit. Our minds become clearer, then we understand things better. What you have learned today is how to calm and clear your mind on your own. Even 5 minutes of meditation will help you. No need to sit long time, just do a few minutes. And then notice the peacefulness in your mind. And then when you are troubled, think of the peace. You just think of the peace that helps already. All right? Don't think of the negative things. Then that will make it worse. That's the basic thing we have learned today. Okay? All right, so we'll meet again for another lesson to continue very interesting 12 links. No? Okay, now's the time we spend a quiet moment. We think of all these good deeds we have done today. Today we have spent a bit of time meditating. In other words, we have let go of the world for a while. We have renounced the world for a while to be at peace with ourselves. And then we recited the precepts to remind us what are really of value to us. So we have practiced the precepts also, training of our body and speech, learning to keep our mind peaceful and happy. All these are very wonderful good things. Goodness has great power. So by the power of all these good things we have done, may we be well and happy. May we be blessed with happiness and wisdom and courage, at least to aspire to stream winning in this life itself. And by the blessings of the three jewels, by all the good that we have done, may our relatives, our loved ones, our family be well and happy too. May all those people who have been kind to us, helpful to us, may they too see the true teaching in this life itself. And by the power of all the good we have done, may those who are lost, may those who have difficulties with the teaching or with anyone, may they too find true happiness in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Sadhu means good, excellent.